what's up? I'm Kelly and welcome back to Relentless TV. As you can see, I'm here with my good friend Adam Keifer. What's up, Adam? How's it going? So happy to share this space with you today. Thank you so much for being here. And today's episode is going to be one you don't want to miss. I'm going to be talking about time management and productivity hacks that you and your team are going to be able to utilize right away. So let's get started. All right, first things first, I have a couple of things that I want to bring up that are going to really be beneficial for your team. The first is called positional time blocking. All right, so what is positional time blocking? Well, first, we have to ask what is time blocking, and I'm going to get into that in just a couple of minutes. But essentially, positional time blocking is creating a time block for every single person on the team based on their position. Okay, so we are creating a role-specific schedule, and I'm going to teach you how to do that today, and I swear it's going to change things in your business forever. It's going to give you an opportunity to not only keep your team accountable to their work, but also empower them to make the most of their time and of their day. So let's get started. First thing I want to talk about is this little thing we like to do that is a real big distraction, and a lot of us think it's helpful, and it's called multitasking. That's right, multitasking is a myth. In fact, that's a book. You should read it. Multitasking, actually, it's The Myth of Multitasking is what the book is called, and we'll show that title now. And so you can pick up that book, and you're going to be able to find this next exercise that I'm going to do with y'all inside that book. But for now, I want you to get out a piece of paper and I want you to draw 4 lines across. Okay, so we've got 4 horizontal lines parallel to one another. And we're going to do a little exercise. This is something you can do with your team. It's a really great way to teach them the disadvantage of multitasking. Now, in this book, the author is going to refer to multitasking as switch tasking. Okay, and this is actually a really great way to help us understand that multitasking is actually asking our brain to switch back and forth between things, and it's not actually super helpful. So the first thing I'd like you to do before you go, don't do it yet. Wait till I say, okay? Calm down. The first thing I want you to do on that very first horizontal line, when I say go, is I want you to write the word switch tasking and then is a thief. Okay, so switch tasking is a thief, whole sentence, okay? And then on the second line, I want you to give each one of those letters a number. So it's gonna be numbers 1 through 21. So every single letter in that sentence, directly below it is gonna get a number. I'm gonna give you guys about, 60 to 90 seconds, and I want you to let yourself know, I'm gonna have to get a timer over here myself. Okay, I'm back and I've got a timer. So let's continue. So the way it works is I'm going to let you know at every 10-second interval, and so that you can make a note when you're finished how long it took you. Okay, so I'll say that one more time. You're gonna write the words, switch tasking is a thief, and then give each of those letters a number. I'm going to time you and let you know every 10 seconds so that you can time yourself and see how long it takes you. Okay, let's give it a try. Here we go. That's 10. 20. 30 seconds. Most of you should be done pretty soon. All right, that's 40. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. Okay, great job, and time's up. So most of you probably finished that really easy exercise in under a minute. Now, maybe if you're a slow writer, it took you a little bit longer, that's okay. We're gonna do it again, but this time I'm gonna ask you to do is I'm gonna ask you to switch back and forth between writing the letters and the numbers. So on line 3 of your paper, you're gonna start with the letter S, but then you're immediately gonna go to line 4 and give it a number 1. So this time you're going back and forth between lines 3 and 4. And I'm gonna give you the same timer, so 10 seconds at every 10-second interval, I'll let you know. Time yourself and see that if this one takes you less time or more time. Here we go. That's 10. 20. 30. 40 seconds. I'll give you another 10 seconds. Okay, and time. Now, many of you might not have finished within that 50-second period. And normally, the results of this fun little exercise are, drumroll, we have a much harder time going back and forth between lines 3 and 4 and alternating tasks, and it takes us far more time to do it that way than the initial exercise, which is just concentrating on one thing at a time. So the point is focusing on one task at a time is actually far more efficient than going back and forth and trying to do too many things at the same time. I love this exercise because every time I do it with teams, it really helps to highlight how beneficial it is to focus on one thing, because everybody makes a big deal about multitasking, right? If you are on a job interview and you ask someone what their strengths are, they might even say, I'm a great multitasker. And now you know that's not actually the best thing about their strength. Hopefully they are good at managing their time, but switch tasking is a thief. Okay, so now that we know multitasking is not the best way to go about our work, let's talk about some habits that will actually help you be more productive and have better management of your time. So we talked about positional time blocking, which I'm going to teach you how to do here in just a second. We're not going to multitask. We're going to discourage that within our teams, help them focus on one thing at a time. The next thing I want to talk about is scheduling time in your day for distractions. What? That sounds crazy. Yes, distractions are going to come up. They're going to happen. You can call them fires, when we're like, firemen trying to put out all the fires in our schools. You can call them interruptions. You can call them crises, or whatever you call them. They happen. They're normal. It's a normal part of doing business day to day. But I like to schedule time for those distractions every single day. And that means I'm never letting anything else take away from the work that I am scheduled to do. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this scheduled distraction time in a little bit. But this is our habit, is scheduling time for distractions daily. Next, ritual and routine go a really long way. So creating a schedule where things repeat at the same time or on the same day is actually really helpful for you and your team to be able to find a rhythm and get work done. So if every week the schedule is all over the place and it's not a repeatable pattern, that's actually going to hurt productivity levels. And finally, respect your own time and lead by example. This is actually one that's really hard to practice. For instance, if you are respecting your own time, do not start and end meetings late. Do not go over your allotted time that you're scheduling out. Make sure you end your appointments when you're supposed to. Make sure you're respectful of other people's time. Make sure you don't load up on your team's plate a bunch of tasks and items that interrupt their workflow. That happens a lot. Make sure that you're really modeling what it means to be a manager of your own time, because they're watching you and your leadership is their example. Okay, a couple of side notes about time and productivity. One is your physical space. Your physical space is really important to how your brain is able to focus. So if you have a lot of clutter like this, no good. If you have a nice, organized, neat space, and maybe even a space that creates an ambiance or a mood that inspires you, that's going to be really helpful. So encourage your team to be tidy, to be organized. If you come in and the desk is a mess and everything is crazy, that's not going to be conducive for a positive work environment. Your emotional state also factors into how well you're able to be productive or focus. So if you're coming in and you're feeling stressed out or tired, or you haven't had enough coffee, or your kids overslept and you were late and everybody missed the bus and you had a fight with your significant other, that's going to affect your ability to focus. So maybe we all practice when we get into work, we take a couple of cleansing deep breaths. Maybe we start our day together in a little huddle. Maybe we turn on some positive music. One of our awesome team members here is in charge of the music, and she always sets the mood, makes sure that everybody here is in a good, positive, emotional state to start their day. Also, there's self-awareness and preferences about how you use your time and when you want to do certain tasks. So right before this episode, I was telling our videographer that I'm not so good in the afternoon. I'm better in the morning. That's when my brain works the best. Really between like 5 a.m. and I would say like 1 p.m. That's when I have my most my best focus, my most amazing ideas. That's when I'm really good at focused work. After 2 o'clock, I don't know what happens, but my brain kind of shuts off and I'm better at more menial tasks like doing laundry or grocery shopping or things that don't require a lot of strategic thought. So I know that about myself. Ooh, sorry, sound people. I know that about myself, and so I work with that as opposed to against it. I don't try to load my day at night with very difficult mental tasks. Okay, having office hours can be very beneficial to help you manage your time. So what office hours is essentially a time of day that you set aside to be available for your team. And this is a great tool for any manager. If you have a lot of people coming in and bugging you all the time, it can be very distracting. Well, office hours says, okay, I'm available every day from 9 to 10 and 1 to 2. And that's the time when you can come bug me and I will set everything else aside and I will be present and available for you. So that's an option as well. And then also you can have dedicated email addresses where you do collect questions or feedback from the team so that it's separate from all the rest of your emails. And that's going to be helpful for answering their questions, getting back to them, and kind of staying a little more organized. Or you can have a separate email for your clients as well that helps you stay organized so you know exactly who you're responding to and when. And you're deciding, you're in charge. It's not all coming into the same email and creating overwhelm. Okay, the last tip before I teach you how to time block is stop bullshitting and get to work. So the reality is most of us will find anything and everything to distract us from actually sitting down and doing work. So we like to be distracted. It's just human nature. It's great for dopamine. We like to scroll our phone. We like to see what's new on TikTok and Instagram. We like to set up a little movie while we're working. We like to play chess with our friends. All of those things, while they're very fun to do, are not conducive to our most best productive self. So stop bullshitting and get to work. Okay, let's talk about time blocking. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. If you want more information about time blocking, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here and available to help. But essentially, what we're doing is we're creating a list, and you're going to make 4 different lists, okay? First one is going to be of all the tasks that you have to do on a daily basis. So these are reoccurring daily tasks. So every day I have to check email. Every day I have to clock in. Every day I have to wipe down the counters. Whatever it is, daily tasks, okay? That's list number 1. List number 2 is weekly reoccurring tasks. So if there's something you have to do every Monday or every Friday, you're going to write down all of those weekly reoccurring tasks, okay? List number 3 is going to be monthly reoccurring tasks. So these are things that happen once a month and they reoccur. So every first of the month I have to do blank, or every 15th of the month I have to do blank. Okay. Finally, the last list is going to be what we call ad hoc. That just means miscellaneous things that are happening but are not reoccurring, essentially. So maybe this month you have a graduation or a belt testing that doesn't normally happen every single month, but it is happening this month, and so it needs to be accounted for. So you've got 4 lists: daily, monthly, weekly, and ad hoc. Next to each task, and this is going to take a little time, by the way, to really sit down and not forget any of those tasks. It might even take a couple of weeks to really make sure you're not missing anything. Once you have all of those tasks written down, you need to assign a duration to those tasks. So essentially, you're asking yourself, how much time should this task take? If answering my email should take 15 minutes, then you're going to write 15 minutes next to that task. If checking inventory typically takes 30 minutes, then you're going to write down 30 minutes next to that task. Now, the hard part is some of you are going to say, well, I don't know how long this takes. Sometimes it takes 30, sometimes it takes 40. That's a problem. Our goal is going to be to try to streamline all tasks and give them what we call the desired duration, right? It's the amount of time we want you spending on each task so that everybody is able to understand and manage how long each of their tasks take. That's the problem with checklists. A lot of us use a checklist to help our team know what to do next. Unfortunately, checklists do not account for the duration of tasks. So if there's 10 things on a checklist, maybe we only get through 2 because we spent all of our time doing the first 2. With a time block and understanding how long each of those 10 tasks take, it helps guide your team, say, 30 minutes for this one, 20 minutes for this one, 10 minutes for this one, so they know exactly how long they should be spending. Okay? Once all of your tasks have the assigned duration, the next step is to plug them into a time block. And this is what a time block looks like. It is just a chart, essentially, with the times on the left and the days of the week across the top. And then each block is going to be either 30 minutes, you could do an hour block. It's really up to you. It kind of depends on how long, on average, your tasks take you. So if you have a lot of short tasks, use a 30-minute time block or a 15-minute time block. If you have a lot of longer tasks, use an hour time block. Okay? It is tailored and customized for whatever works best for you. Once you have your time block template, then you're going to start adding in, first and foremost, any task that already has a designated time. So what I mean by that is maybe every single day you have to teach a particular class. Maybe every day you teach a class at 4 p.m. So that's what you're going to start with, putting that task into your time block to account for 4 p.m. every single day during the week. Okay? Let's say every Monday at 2 p.m. you have a staff meeting. Well, you're going to take the staff meeting and plug it in because that already has a designated time. Do you understand? So once we have all the tasks that have a designated time associated with them, now we can start adding in all the other tasks depending on if they're daily, if they're weekly, if they're monthly, and I would do it in that order. So start with your pre-assigned times. If you teach a certain class or you have a staff meeting at a certain time, maybe you attend a workshop every week, whatever, those go first, then your daily tasks, then weekly, then monthly, and then ad hoc. What you'll find at the end of this process is that every single task that you wrote on your list has a time and a day for when that should get done. So essentially, you're making an appointment for every task on your list. Now, just like you make an appointment with a doctor or dentist, a massage therapist, maybe your friend to meet them for tea or drinks or whatever, you wouldn't just no-show on your appointments. The reason why time blocking is so powerful is because it creates habits that you don't bail on. You don't ghost yourself, or at least that's the goal. So if you know you have scheduled appointments with yourself, at 9 a.m. I've got to check my email. At 10 a.m. I have a meeting with Leah. At 1 p.m. I've got to run payroll. Then you stay accountable to each and every task. Okay? So there are a couple of rules that I'm going to leave you off so that you understand exactly how not to mess this up. And the first rule is you are not, under any circumstance, allowed to go over your designated time. So if during your planning stage, you decide that checking email should only take 30 minutes and you block that time out, you may not go past 30 minutes that week, okay? And the reason is if you start going past those times, well, we're kind of throwing the whole point out the window, right? We want to be disciplined and let ourselves know you've got 30 minutes to finish this task. You are not allowed to go over because now you're bleeding into the next task, right? And that's kind of how we get backed up or we sort of miss things or things fall through the cracks. However, if you notice that that particular task took longer than it should, you are free to make an adjustment next week. Okay, so you make a note, and this is kind of how you learn about your own particular time block. Make a note. Checking email really needs 45 minutes next time. Or maybe you do a little self-audit and you say, well, today I took longer than 30 minutes, but I wasn't working very efficiently. In other words, I was kind of bullshitting, right? I was checking my email, I was checking Facebook, I went and got a cup of coffee, I had to use the bathroom. And so it took longer than 30 minutes. Why? Because I was not being disciplined about using that time correctly. So it's a good teacher to help keep us accountable to our time. The second rule is that you may not cancel any of your appointments unless you have another block available later in the week or later in the day. So if you're supposed to do something at 9 a.m., you cannot cancel it unless you have an availability for that task later on. Okay, and this is obviously something that is a little challenging to practice, but it is a really good way to help people stay accountable to not just letting things go or saying the common phrase is like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll start next week, right? So this helps us stay focused on the tasks that we're supposed to be doing right now. Okay, let's go back to the very last rule, which is about that distraction time. I mentioned earlier that I like to schedule in distractions. So what I do is every day I create a block of time, maybe an hour, maybe a half an hour, where I am able to address the things that came up that I wasn't expecting, okay? So maybe something happened earlier in the day and I wasn't able to get to it because I had an appointment already, but now I've got this open block where I can go back and address it. Or maybe something did need my immediate attention. Maybe I was supposed to do something at 9 a.m., but I had a fire and I had to put it out. Well, now that 9 a.m. task needs to get done. I move it into that open block, okay? So that I never miss anything and I never let anything fall through the cracks. Sorry guys, 2 p.m. and my time block says I gotta go.